Breaking news for you this afternoon. The Fargo School Board has made a decision on the teacher accused of asking a student about nude pictures, among several other things. The board voted unanimously to suspend South High School teacher Kevin Kennedy without pay while he goes through the discharge process. The school plans to hold a discharge hearing to discuss further action. Kennedy is also accused of giving a student a neck massage, talking about a student's grades to others, and asking students about their virginity. We have new information on a crash that we were the first to tell you about last night. The man who rolled his car in Moorhead, leaving him trapped in a ditch with standing water, has died. Moorhead police say a witness pulled 72-year-old Stephen Ware out of the vehicle shortly after that crash happened off of I-94. He was taken to a hospital but later died. A Ramsey County medical examiner will perform an autopsy. Police are still investigating how that crash happened. We've had a mix of weather across the valley today with more on the way. Let's go right over to Summer with a first look at the forecast. Summer?
Thank you so much, Stacy. Yeah, as you just saw on the sky cam there in Grand Forks, there's a few flakes mixing in, and some areas in the valley have had more flakes than others. This snapshot was sent in to us near Ponsford, Minnesota by Al. This was around 11 a.m. and he measured about 6 inches of snow, and it was still falling. Here's a few reports that have come in. The Waubun area picking up between 6 and 8 inches of accumulation. Ponsford 6 inches, Lake Itasca area 6 inches, White Earth area around 3 inches of snow. And those are reports that have come in before the noon hour. Right now we're seeing a few lingering areas of snow up across the northern valley and northern Minnesota with some scattered areas of rain. Notice a dry slot in the southern valley. That's right where the low pressure system is. So we're having a little bit of a break in the precipitation, but areas like Thief River Falls, Foston, out towards Grand Forks, and even up into Hallock and Baudette, still seeing some areas of snowfall. That snow is reducing visibility. We're down to 1.7 miles in Devil's Lake, 5 miles in Langdon and Grand Forks, 4-mile visibility in Thief River Falls and Rosa, 1.7 miles in Bemidji. And the wind is starting to pick up ahead of that low pressure system. We've got winds out of the southeast still, but now that we're seeing some wraparound, the wind will be increasing out of the northwest, gusting to 41 miles per hour right now in Sisseton. We have had some gusts into the 50-mile-per-hour range. Tomorrow is our first alert weather day into Thursday for more wintry weather with more snow on the way. And Stacy, wind could be a big problem tomorrow into Thursday. We're looking at potentially near blizzard conditions. So we'll have an update for you here in just a little bit.
Thanks, Summer. Yeah, it just sounds like a mess. It's a good reminder to keep that VNL weather app handy for forecasts right at your fingertips. You can download and use it for free. All you have to do is search VNL weather in the App Store today. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky addressed the UN Security Council for the first time since the Russian invasion of his country, and he's calling on the international community to do more. Reporter Skylar Henry has more from Capitol Hill.
Russia wants to turn Ukraine into silent slaves.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a powerful address to the UN Security Council, accusing Russia of war crimes in Ukraine.
They killed entire families, adults and children, and they tried to burn the bodies.
Satellite images show bodies lying in the streets of Bucha long before Russian forces left the town.
The world has yet to see what they have done in other occupied cities and regions of our country.
The horrifying death toll there has triggered international outrage.
These crimes betray the trust of every Russian mother who proudly waves goodbye to her son as he heads off to join the military.
The U.S. says it's joining Ukraine in seeking Russia's suspension from the UN's Human Rights Council.
Given the growing mountain of evidence, Russia should not have a position of authority in a body whose very purpose is to promote respect for human rights.
U.S. leaders say they're also coordinating with allies to implement another round of economic sanctions this week in hopes of further isolating Moscow.
We stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine and all other people affected by the war of Russian aggression. We stand in support of Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
The new sanctions, expected to be announced Wednesday, will reportedly include a ban on all new investment in Russia and sanctions on Russian government officials and their family members. NATO and G7 leaders are set to meet Wednesday and Thursday to discuss the delivery of advanced weapons to Ukraine. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In testimony before the House Armed Services Committee, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said there's a possibility of increasing U.S. troops in Europe to help Ukraine. The Treasury Department says they will not allow any Russian government debt payments from accounts to be made in U.S. dollars. The decision comes after the agency said sanctions levied on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine still allow Russia to continue to make payments. Some of the debt is owed to foreign investors and comes from the Russian government to support economic growth. Putin has resorted to extreme financial measures to blunt the West's penalties and inflate his currency. Former President Obama returned to the White House today to mark the 12th anniversary of the Affordable Care Act. The ACA is now part of the fabric of the American healthcare system. It's been upheld by 3 Supreme Court victories and is a staple of the Obama administration's legacy.
But nothing made me prouder than providing better health care and more protections to millions of people across this country.
Obama refers to his health care law as a starter home that Americans can build upon, gradually reducing the 9% share of the population that remains uninsured, though the rate was nearly 15% back in 2013 before the law took effect. Under the ACA, an estimated 30 million people are receiving coverage, and now the Biden administration is working on making more Americans eligible for coverage as part of a new policy proposed earlier today. The White House is getting ready to extend a pandemic-era freeze on federal student loan payments that's set to expire May 1st. When the moratorium ends, millions of people will add another bill to the monthly pile. CBS's Michael George has some tips on what borrowers can do.
22-year-old Brendan Rooks recently started his career in public service with his student debt waiting in the wings.
I currently have just over $10,000 of student debt.
A pandemic-era pause on federal loan payments had been set to expire on May 1st, though the White House is planning to extend the freeze through August. More than 36 million people have not had to pay their loans since March 2020, totaling about $195 billion so far. The Student Debt Crisis Center and Savvy surveyed more than 23,000 borrowers and found 92% of those now fully employed are concerned about making their loan payments.
1/3 of those borrowers told us that in preparation of payments resuming in May, they are skimping out on basic needs like food, rent, and health care.
Advocates have been pushing for an extension, and many are calling for loan forgiveness.
I think we can all agree, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that the student loan system is broken.
Experts say borrowers should use this time to plan ahead and have a strategy when the bills start coming.
Update your contact information, sign up for autopay, research repayment plans, and consider income-driven repayment.
While it's this very strong labor market, some people maybe are not making as much money. Maybe there's an income-driven repayment plan that's in your future.
Rooks is planning to attend graduate school in the fall, where he already knows he'll incur more debt. Michael George, CBS News, Long Island City, New York.
Financial experts suggest students limit borrowing to the amount of their anticipated first-year salary, and for parents, your household income is what you can borrow in total for all of your children. There's a new flashpoint in the debate over how to handle immigration in the U.S. The efforts to end a pandemic-era policy called Title 42. The measure has been used to prevent nearly 2 million migrants and asylum seekers from entering the U.S. on the claim that it's best for public health. The Biden administration now wants to end that policy, referring to guidance from the CDC, but some states are now suing to keep it in place.
Title 42 is a public health directive. It's not an migration enforcement measure. And the decision on when to lift Title 42 was made by the CDC.
Unable to file for asylum in the U.S. due to Title 42, some refugees have been waiting at the southern border for months. However, the directive does not apply to all refugees, with some from war-torn Ukraine entering the U.S. through the southern border. The Environmental Protection Agency has proposed a rule to finally ban asbestos, a carcinogen that's still used in some chlorine bleach, brake pads, and other products. They say it kills thousands of Americans every year. Asbestos, which was once common in home insulation and other products, is banned in more than 50 countries, and its use in the U.S. has been declining for decades. A new United Nations report on climate change says the world needs to move away from fossil fuels quickly to have any hope of preventing a climate disaster in the future. There is some good news. The world's leading climate scientists say we can still avert a catastrophe if we act now. The report says greenhouse gas emissions must be cut nearly in half by 2030 to have any chance of limiting global warming to 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. They say any warmer than that, and floods, droughts, fires, and other climate catastrophes will become much worse. The UN Secretary General says many governments and businesses aren't doing nearly enough to cut their pollution.
Simply put, they are lying. And the results will be catastrophic. This is a climate emergency.
The report says the world must essentially stop burning coal, dramatically reduce the use of oil and gas, and quickly transition to cleaner forms of energy like wind, solar, and nuclear power. They also say it's necessary to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles. There's optimism because the cost of EV batteries and renewable energy has dropped dramatically, but still to come. We'll tell you